So chapter 3, verses 6 through 11 is really kind of about the ceremony. Of course, back then, the way the weddings happened is the groom would come riding up to the bride's house. He'd take the broom, we're not sweeping. The groom would take the bride into the chariot or walking or whatever the guy could afford. In Solomon's case, it would have been a grand processional because he's king. And so he comes to the bride's house and he sweeps her away, and off they go to the wedding ceremony, and there's the wedding ceremony. The book doesn't record a whole lot about the ceremony. In fact, not very much at all. It doesn't say what they had for snacks or what the message was about or what the colors were, what the bride's dress looked like. Nobody cares about that, okay? The girls care about that. You can imagine that on your own. It doesn't matter. But they go through the ceremony, and they're off from the bride's house, and they're going away. Verse 11, "Go out, O daughters of Zion, and look on King Solomon with the crown on which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, on the day of the gladness of his heart." And off they go into the sunset. The marriage ceremony takes place, and everybody's happy. And then off on to later that night with chapter 4, verse 1. So finally, hooray, the wedding day. This second section of Song of Solomon opens with a picture of Solomon riding through the desert. We just looked at that verse, presumably to bring his bride from her house according to Jewish custom in chapter 4. And Solomon describes his bride in even more explicit detail than we saw in chapter 1. Why would he be able to be more explicit here than previously? Probably because he has access to more explicit things than he did in chapter 1, didn't he? They are married now, and so he says, hey, look what I get. Chapter 4, verse 1, "Behold, you're beautiful, my love. Behold, you're beautiful. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead." By the way, guys, if you want to get in good with your wife, when she wakes up tomorrow morning, just look it over and say, "Honey, your hair looks like a bunch of sheep falling down the side of a hill." She will love you. Oh, boy, you'll get all kinds of attention. I don't know, what can I say? Apparently, they liked it, I guess. Whatever. Continuing on. Chapter 2, "Your teeth are like a flock of shorn ewes that have come up from washing." Again, Bible time, what do you say? I don't know. "All of which bear their twins. Not one of them has lost its young." You have a good dental plan, okay? All the teeth are there. They're shiny. They're white. 3 cheers, no dentures going on. "Your lips are like scarlet thread. Your mouth is lovely. Your cheeks are half pomegranates behind your veil. Your neck is like the Tower of David hanging 1,000 shields. Your 2 breasts are like fawn, twins of a gazelle that gaze among the lilies until the day breathes and shadows flee." Verse 7, "You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Depart from the peak of Mana and from the peak of Senir and Hermon, from the dens of the lions and the mouths of leopards. You have captivated my heart, my sister, my bride." And don't get thrown off by the word sister there. We're not talking something like weird going on here. Just a relational term, of affection. Where am I at here? My sister, how much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips drip nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. You can tell how enthralled he is by her. She is just so amazing to him. He cannot get enough. He loves what he's seeing. He loves what he's going to get to experience here in just a second. And it is super duper amazing. We get to verse 12 then, and after all of these compliments of how gorgeous and adorable and wonderful and cuddleable she really is, we get to another kind of compliment here in chapter 4, verse 12. A different kind of compliment. He says, "A garden locked is my sister, my bride, a spring locked and a fountain sealed." He says, "Your shoots are an orchard of pomegranates with all the choicest fruits," and he goes through all the different spices there. A garden fountain, a well of living water, and flowing streams from Lebanon." He says, you're like this garden, and inside this garden are all these kind of spices that he mentions in 13 and 14. I won't even list them all kinds of flavors, all kinds of spices, aromas, tastes, smells. You're just enthralling, like walking into a garden full of all these wonderful things. It's so beautiful. But he says in verse 12, this garden, so far, he says, has been locked, my sister, my bride, a spring locked, a sealed fountain. Why would he describe her as a garden that has been all locked up? Why would you lock up a garden that's all beautiful and fragrant and delicious and beautiful and wonderful? Why would you? Come on, you know the answer. Because so far it has not yet been time to open it, right? Remember the 2 warnings we've seen so far, the 2 stop signs? He says, up until now, you've been a garden that's beautiful. There's nothing, it's gorgeous, it's wonderful, it's amazing. But so far it's been locked up, and nobody's been allowed to come in, what? Until the next verse. Because gardens aren't meant to be locked up forever, or else why would you grow them? There's a time to lock them, and there's a time to unlock them as well. And chapter 4, verse 16 talks about unlocking the garden. Awake, north wind, and come, O south wind, blow upon my garden. Let its spices flow. And everybody said, thank you. You guys are so wimpy, I don't know what to do. Yes, you bet. It is party time, is what he says. Open the garden. Enough of this closed up behind a wall thing. It is party time. All signs are go. Stop signs are gone. Let's have it. She says in chapter 4, verse, last part of 16, I think it still is. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat its choicest fruit. He says, and I came into my garden, my sister, my bride, and I gathered my myrrh with my spice. I ate my honeycomb with my honey, and I drank my wine with my milk. I came into that garden, and I enjoyed everything it's got to offer. And it was wonderful. I think in the Hebrew he says something like, ooh la la is what he says, right? It was something worth waiting for, just for me. All the delights and the amazement. It's wonderful. It is super fantastic, he says. And I came into the garden. You understand what I'm talking about when I say garden, right? This is the bride here talking about. This is her physical beauty and everything she's got to offer. He says, I've explored this now. I can compliment from head to toe because I now get to see it head to toe. And I get to enjoy everything you've got to offer. Everything we've waited for is now in a culmination. It's come all together. In the last part of chapter 5, verse 1, the others chime in. Eat, friends, and drink, and be drunk with love. Some people get a little bit thrown by this, I think. They say, wait a minute, how can others be present at this time? And I say, well, wait a minute. We talked about this before last week. This is not a documentary, okay? This is not a newspaper article where the reporter's standing there in the corner watching everything that's happening. This is written as a poetic play. And again, we're back to the slumber party where the girls are sitting around and she's telling her story and she gets to the good part, the juiciest part. And we came and we opened each other up and we were able to be together and it was so amazing. And the girls are what? Sitting around with their mugs of hot chocolate and cookies. They're saying, yes, go for it. Oh, that's so amazing. What do the ladies at work say? Something about you go girl. Something like that is what they're saying. They're cheering her on. They say, oh, this is wonderful. This is great. That's what the end of verse 1 is saying. There's the girls sitting around listening to the story. Eat, friends, drink, be drunk with love. Yes, go for it. Woohoo, this is so exciting. I can't believe it. It's amazing. So it's not like they're staying there in the corner watching what's going on. They're commenting on the action as a narrator would. Eat, friends, and drink, and be drunk with love. If love was a food, this is the time to be a glutton. If love was wine and sexual enjoyment was a drink, it is time to get drunk until you can't even stand up anymore. That's what she's saying here. Enjoy to the fullest. Go for it. Do I need to repeat myself anymore? Do we kind of have the idea of what's going on here? Okay. Whew. The next section. We kind of shift scenes just a little bit. They're still together, but it's like scene 3 and the roll drops on the back of the stage. Now we've been married for just a little while, and we start out this scene with another dream. Now you remember, we already had one dream, didn't we, back in chapter 3, and in that dream, the dream is when they are courting, and she longs to be together with her, what I guess you'd call fiancé at that time, her betrothed, whatever. And she says, he's over there and I'm over here, but I have this dream and I really wish we could be together and I want to come together with him. I know we're not, and it's not quite the right time, but I go looking for him. And in the dream, I'm running through the city and all the alleys and stuff looking for my lover because we want to be together. And the watchmen of the walls, the policemen, we'll call them, they come and they find me and I tell them my problem. I'm looking for this guy, but I can't find him. I can't quite seem to be with him yet. and they commend me and they pat me on the back and say, that's a good thing, and we will help you find him. We'll help bring you together because it's right for you to want to be together. Not that they're to be together yet, but it's good to chase after him and to want that type of thing. Here's another dream, and it also has kind of a similar thing, but it's very, very different. Chapter 5, verse 2 says this. He says, I slept, but my heart was awake. I'm dreaming here. A sound, my beloved is knocking. And he says, open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one, for my head is wet with dew, and my locks with the drops of the night. She's inside, she's all snuggling in her bed, she's probably halfway dozed off, she's reading her, book or whatever in bed. And he knocks and says, I want to come and be with you. It's time for me to come in. Let me come into your room and we can be together. Verse 3, she said, but I had put off my garment. How could I put it on? And I bathed my feet. How could I soil them? I'm all comfortable. I'm not interested. I don't want to get out of bed. Just go away right now. I don't want to be with you right now. Ooh, the scene has shifted a little bit from before, hasn't it? All the excitement, something is missing here. Now, why does she not want to be with him? Text really doesn't say. Did she just get complacent or bored, or had they had some kind of disagreement, or he said something she didn't like, and so she doesn't want to be around him? We don't know, and because Solomon didn't put it in here, we don't really care what the cause is, because the end result is the same. She doesn't want to be with him right now. There's some kind of separation between the two. So he knocks and says, I'd like to come in and be with you. She says, nah, go away. It's kind of the essence of what's going on. And she has her reasons and excuses. I'm all dry. I got my clean clothes on. I don't want to walk across the dirty floor because I already washed my feet. Man, you're not worth it right now. Go away. It's kind of what she's saying. Verse 4, so my beloved put his hand to the latch. He's wiggling the doorknob. And my heart was thrilled within me. I hear him wanting to come in. I'm kind of having second thoughts. Should I? Shouldn't I? And so I rose to open to my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, and my fingers with liquid myrrh on the handles of the bolt. So I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had turned and gone. I'd turned him away. I'd refused him. And I don't know, how long, in literal terms, how long this would have been. Maybe it was one night. Maybe this has been going on for a couple days or weeks. We don't really know. But by the time she finally had a change of heart and said, well, okay, I guess so. And so she gets up to open the door. But at that time, now what has happened? He has lost interest too. So he's off doing his own other thing. I opened to my beloved, but he'd turned and gone, verse 6. My soul failed with me when he spoke. I sought him, but found him not. So I start looking for him, but now I can't find him. Now instead of him chasing me, and I'm not interested in a kind of unfortunate turn of events, now I'm looking for him, and he's not interested. Verse 7, the watchmen found me as they went about the city. Good, because last time they helped us out. But look at verse 7. This time they didn't help. This time they beat me and they bruised me, and they took away my veil, those watchmen of the walls. This time in my dream, the policemen, the keepers of the peace, they didn't commend me and say, good, you're on the right track, let me help you out. What did they say this time? You say, something's wrong, this is not right. There should not be this separation. We need to do something to fix this. This is not okay for you two to be separated in this way. Now beforehand, you remember, being separated and locked up was a good thing. You remember the garden. Now being separated and not together is what? It's a bad thing all of a sudden. Why? What has made the difference? Well, now they're married. They're to be together. That's the whole purpose. And so in chapter 5, this is during the marriage. They've been together, but they're not enthusiastic. She's beaten by the guards, cannot find her lover. The guards are saying, this is not right. You should not be complacent or reject, and nor should he. We're not just picking on the ladies here. But this is not right for you to be separate and to be apart and to drive each other away. That's not okay. And so she's beaten by these watchmen. They do not approve any longer in the dream. And here she again, in verse 8 of chapter 5, she turns to the daughters of Jerusalem. They're sitting around, again, at the slumber party. But they're also kind of playing an active role in this dream. She says, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem. Again, this phrase is a repeat. We've seen this twice before, haven't we? I beg you, I implore you, daughters of Jerusalem, to what? The last two times it has been to abstain until it's time. But this is a different time, isn't it? What's the exhortation now to the daughters of Jerusalem? Please, 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 I beg you, daughters of Jerusalem, what? If you find my beloved, that you tell him I am sick with love. Before she says, stay apart until it's time, but she says, now it's time, but we're apart. Please, I beg you, if you can help get us together, please help get us together. We're supposed to be together now. I want to be, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how. There's something between us. We have to fix it. Help me out, daughters of Jerusalem. Please help. And so they do help. In verse 9, they reply, all right, they say, what is your beloved? This is verse 9 of chapter 5. What is your beloved more than another beloved, O most beautiful among women? What is your beloved more than another beloved that you thus adjure us? Why do you come to us? Tell us what he's like. Tell us who he is so we can help you find him. So by this time, beloved has had a change of heart. She asked the daughter of Jerusalem's help. That's what I mean by DOJ, by the way, not Department of Justice or anything like that. If you're politically minded, don't let that throw you. She's not going to the government for help. DOJ is Daughters of Jerusalem. It just saves me space on the screen. The daughter of Jerusalem's help in finding her lover, and she describes him to them, reminding her of her own love for them. So she continues. They say, what is he like? So she starts to tell them. Verse 10, well, here's what he's like. My beloved is radiant and he's ruddy, distinguished among 10,000. His head is the finest gold, his locks are wavy, as black as raven. And she continues, his eyes are like doves, his cheeks are like beds of spices, lips are lilies, arms are like rods of gold, body is polished, legs are alabaster, appearance like Lebanon. She goes through all these descriptions of how wonderful and attractive he is. And she gets down to the bottom, verse 16. His mouth is most sweet. He's altogether desirable. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. So why do they ask what he's like? Don't they already know? And why does she tell them? Doesn't she already know? And I don't think she's making this description, and I don't think they asked the question so that they could find out who he is, so they could help her find him. I don't think that's it. I don't think they asked for their benefit. I think they asked for what? For her benefit. Tell me what he's like. Why are you together? Focus on the good things. Describe him to me. Why do you love him? Instead of giving all of your attention to whatever's driving you apart and the bad things and the quarrels you've had and the fights that you've had and how he leaves his toothpaste on the sink and he didn't wash the dishes and all the other things, instead of focus on that, tell me why you love him in the first place. Remind me what you like about him instead of what you don't. So they're not asking for their own benefit. They're asking for hers. And so she starts to describe. And the more she describes, the more she remembers how much she really does love him. Despite what else is going on, we can work that out, and we have to. But I don't want this to come between us. I want to want you again. And so she goes through all the description, all the physical wonderfulness, which, again, I think is literal, but also can be metaphorical of the relationship as a whole. Here is what I love about you. Despite all the arguments or whatever it is that drove us apart, I do love you anyway. I care about you. I want to be with you. So that's why she gets to the end of verse 16. His mouth is sweet. He's desirable. And she kind of comes to the epiphany, yes, you're right. I do love. We need to be together. This is my beloved. This is what he's like. He really is amazing. And not only my beloved, this is my what? What's the word? Say the word. This is my friend. This is the one who I love. This is my friend. This is who I need to be with. O daughters of Jerusalem. We've made a mistake. We've let something come between us. We have to fix this. Now my head is in the right place because now I want to get back together with him. But the daughters of Jerusalem aren't quite done. They have one more helpful question. Chapter 6, verse 1. They say, where is your beloved gone, O most beautiful among women? Where has your beloved turned that we may seek him with you? Now that your head's in the right place and your attitude is fixed, now all we got to do is get you two together again so you can work it out. First the brain, then the relationship. So the brain is fixed. Now we got to get you two back together. So she answers in verse 2, chapter 6, well, my beloved's gone down to his garden, to the bed of spices, grazed among the lilies. Verse 3, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He grazes among the lilies. I know where he's at. And I know where I can find him, and I think I know what we have to do to get back together. So she goes and finds him. So the conversation that we just read, chapter 5, verse 9, what is he like? In other words, what do you love about him? She replies, verses 10 through 15. Well, she gives a description of the lover. 15, verse 16b, this is my lover and my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. So in chapter 6, verse 1, they continue, where is he gone and how can we find him? In other words, how can you reconnect with him? She responds, verses 2 and 3, I am his and he is mine. That's what she says. And finally, with that, the reconciliation is complete. They've gotten back together, their brains are fixed, and now the problem, whatever it was, doesn't say, because it could be any one of a myriad of things, but they've come back together. And so how does he respond? What does the conversation look like now again? Well, here's what it looks like. He says, verse 4 of chapter 6, you are as beautiful as Tisra, my love, lovely as Jerusalem, awesome as an army with banners. Turn away from your eyes with me, for they overwhelm me. I can't even stand to gaze in your eyes because they're so overwhelmingly beautiful, he says. Your hair is like a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Gilead. Enough with the goats already, all right, Solomon? Sorry. Maybe that's what she was mad about him in the first place. Why do you keep calling my hair like a bunch of goats falling down a hill? I hate you. I don't know. Bible doesn't say, but that could well be it. She continues in verse 6. Your teeth are like a flock of ewes. Your cheeks are like halves of pomegranates. Verse 7. Verse 8. There are 60 queens and 80 concubines and virgins without number. But my dove, my perfect one, is the only one of her mother, pure to her who bore her. The young woman saw her and called her blessed, the queens and concubines also, and they praised her. Again, I can only guess that they're actually talking about the other queens and concubines, which we all know Solomon had plenty. But he says, of all the others that I have, you are the special one. Boy, there's another sermon and lesson for another time, isn't it? It's not really within the scope of the book to address that right now, but he says, of all the other wives, queens, and concubines that I have in my harem, plus all the others, he says, you are special and you're amazing. Again, I know that makes a lot of people pretty uncomfortable, and we'll skip over it for now because the book doesn't really address that. So we'll just have to talk about that for the service or something if you want. They continue on with her descriptions here. Pick it up in verse 7, chapter 1. He continues, how beautiful are your feet in sandals, O noble daughter. Again, your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master's hand. Your navel is a rounded bowl. Your belly is a heap of wheat. I don't know if that means she had too many donuts the night before or what, I'm not sure. Whatever, your belly's a heap of wheat. Your breasts are like two fawns, the twins of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are pools of Heshbon. Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon, which looks towards Damascus. Your head crowns you like Carmel and is flowing and all the different things. Verse 6, how beautiful and pleasant you are, O loved one, with all of your delights. Your stature is like a palm tree, and your breasts are like its clusters. And I say, I will climb the palm tree, and I will lay hold of its fruit. Oh, may your breast be like the clusters of the vine, and the scent of your breath like apples, and your mouth is like the best wine. You're beautiful, you're amazing. I'm going to absolutely devour you just like before. And so we can see from the descriptions and all the conversation, is there a little ringing going on, or is it just in my head? Okay. All the description of the conversation before, they are back together as good, if not even better than before. So chapter 7, it contains the most open and direct descriptions and praises for each other that we've seen so far in this book. This indicates that the relationship between them is as good, if not better, than ever before. The rift has been closed. The problems have been fixed. They're back together. The intensity is there, even more so than ever. And he compliments her on all of her beauty and everything she has to offer. They have come together, and things are good. Where am I at? Verse 10, I am my beloved's, and his desire is for me, and life is good. She continues in chapter 8. She kind of gives an overview here of her relationship as she's talking. Think of almost back, we're fading away from the story that she's telling, and we're looking now again at the slumber party, and the girls are sitting around. She says, oh, that you were to me like a brother who nursed at my breast. If I found you outside, I would kiss you, and none would despise me. I would lead you and bring you into the house of my mother, she who used to teach me. Basically, she says, I just wish we could be all over each other all the time. I mean, we don't have time to go into that. But she says, we're just really close, and I'm affectionate towards you, and all the different things. Verse 3, his hand is under my head, his right hand is embracing me. Everything is wonderful. We're passionate. We're romantic again. And then one more time, for the last time in the book, she pulls out the stop sign, doesn't she? What does she say? She says, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you do not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. She comes to the conclusion of her story, and all the daughters of Jerusalem, all the teen girls are sitting around, and again, their mouths are open, and everybody's cheeks are red, and they're listening to the story, and they're breathing hard, and their eyes are huge, and they're sitting there, and they've heard this amazing romantic story of how it all unfolded for this girl, for this new queen. And they say, oh, this is amazing, this is super great, we want this too. And she says, yeah, if you want this. She says, stop. She says, I adjure you, don't stir up love until it pleases. So after telling the story of how her lover and her courted, were married, and continue to love each other, beloved pauses to give the daughters of Jerusalem one more reminder of her secret to success. How did I get to where I got? How did this all happen? She says, here's what it is. Here's the instruction of the happiness. Here's my secret to success, chapter 8, verse 4. She says, I adjure you. And I think ASB says, literally, I want you to swear. This is very important. Promise me, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you do not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. What I've experienced is a wonderfully amazing thing. Delights beyond imagination. Super wonderful. But don't get involved before the right time, or else it will not go like this for you. Whew. Everybody good? We're going to continue here. Chapter 6, again, she talks about just her overall relationship, kind of as an overview. She looks over the entire story she's told as she's telling the story to the girls. She said, set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is as strong as death. It cannot be conquered or undone. Jealousy is as fierce as the grave. And I don't think that's meant to necessarily be a negative thing. I think it just says you cannot overcome it and you cannot reverse it. Its flashes are flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. God sends this fire. He makes it to be a powerful, powerful thing for uniting and coming together. It cannot be overcome. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. If a man offered for love all the wealth of his house, he'd be utterly despised. In other words, if you tried to sell everything you own to get true, genuine love like this, and you sold everything you own to try to buy it, they would laugh at you because you could not afford it. That's how valuable and wonderful it is. If you tried to sell everything you had to obtain it, you couldn't afford to have it. But it's a wonderful thing, and it cannot be bought. It can't be bought. How do you obtain it? Well, she's been kind of telling us that the whole time, hasn't she? And the girls are sitting around saying, wow, what an amazing story. That's what I want my life to be like. I want all that passion. I want all that love. I want all that commitment, especially in those last couple of verses there. And I want it to last forever. It cannot be broken. I mean, I know especially in our society we have a hard time hearing that because we see all kinds of divorce and infidelity and all the stuff going on. And I don't want to make this book sound like it is a promise to you that if you get married, this is what your life will look like. Because I know there's a lot of things that happen. And it can be difficult and it can be unpleasant, and not everybody's relationship looks like this. But this is the goal. This is, if everybody plays their card right, it can look like this. And it's not always easy. And I know sometimes one part of the relationship can do something that's out of control of the other part. And I know that bad things happen. Sometimes it's mutual fault. Sometimes it is not. But what she's doing here, Solomon is doing here, is giving an example of a goal of what it can and should look like. This is kind of the ideal. And I'll leave it at that for now. And so in verse 7 of the same chapter, all the girls are sitting around and they're saying, we've heard this beautiful story. This is a wonderful story. This is what we want for ourselves. And so they ask a question. They ask a question that sounds kind of weird. It's okay. They say this, verse 8 of chapter 8. They look back at the queen. She says, and they say, we have a little sister, and she has no breasts. What does that mean? She's still very young. She's not matured yet. She's not really gotten into the relationship phase of her life, but she's getting there pretty quick, okay? And I imagine the slumber party, and they're all looking around, and here's one of the girls. She's a little bit younger than the others, and they all look at her and say, and kind of by extension of themselves, if we want to instruct somebody who's not really gotten into this whole romance thing yet, we want to do whatever we can to ensure that she has a success story like yours. What should we do? What should we tell her? So they ask this question. We have a little sister. She has no breast. What shall we do for our sister on the day when she was spoken for? How can we instruct her? How can we guide her? What can we tell her so that her story is as successful and wonderful as yours? And it's interesting about that question because what? They don't really even wait for an answer. They answer their own question. And how do they know the answer to their own question? How do they? Because the bride has already told them at least 3 times. And so as a way of showing that they understand and they've been listening to everything she said, here's the answer to our question. What should we do for our sister, for her on the day she's spoken for? Well, if she is a wall, we will build on her an embattlement of silver. But if she is a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar. What a weird kind of response is this? If she's a wall, we'll decorate her with silver, and if she's a door, we'll board her up. Oh, there we go. Board her up with cedar. 2 options. She's either a wall or a door. Here's a difficult question, but if you're handy and construction-minded, you might be able to figure this out. What is the difference between a wall and a door? I know this is hard. This is complex. Think with me here. Stretch your brain. What's the difference between a wall and a door? A wall is designed to prohibit access, okay? I want everybody to watch this carefully. I'm going to step away from the microphone. Did everybody catch that? I don't want to have to do it twice. Walls are designed to prohibit access. You are not supposed to go through walls. They stop you. Especially, they didn't have drywall back then. I mean, we have drywall. I guess you could kick your way through a drywall wall if you had to, if there's a fire or something. But back then, there was no drywall. There was no gypsum board. Okay, it was all solid block stone walls. So you're not going to go through the wall. If you run into a wall, you're going to feel it, and it will stop you. A door, however, what is a door designed to do? A door, on the other hand, is designed to grant access. Yeah, to provide an access point. So in a few minutes here, when I leave the room after Sunday school is done, I will go out instead of trying to go through the wall. Okay, everybody got the idea? I know that's deep, isn't it? Okay, so here we go. So how can we instruct our little sister, our little friend here, who's just getting into the romance phase of her life? How can we instruct her on how to have a success story like yours? And they answer their own question. If she is a wall designed to prohibit access before it is time, we will do what? Build battlements of silver upon her, it says. What exactly does that mean? Well, I don't know exactly what embattlements mean. That's kind of a weird word to me. But the commentaries tell me basically what it says. We're going to decorate this wall and make it adorned and glamorous and beautiful to see and wonderful. We're going to give basically all kinds of encouragement to this girl who is acting as a wall, who is prohibiting access before the proper time. And so if she is in herself, has the character and the structural integrity and the resilience to prohibit access until the proper time, we're going to praise her, we're going to encourage her, we're going to decorate her, we're going to give her all kinds of congratulations and encouragement, say, yes, good job, you are on the right track, good for you, yay, go little girl, that's wonderful. However, the last part of verse 9, if she is a door, what will we do? We will enclose her with boards of cedar. Why do we enclose her with boards of cedar? What will this do to the door? It will prohibit access. If the door itself cannot stay locked, we will give assistance to the door and help it stay locked. We will put boards up over the door so that it also now prohibits access, what? Until the proper time, right? Here's the secret to success. Here's how we can help each other. Be a wall. But if you cannot be a wall, we will help you be a wall and help prohibit access until the appropriate time. Don't get involved until love so desires, until it's the right time. That's the secret. And in verse 10, Queen answers back and she says, you know what? I had a success story, but in verse 10 she says, I was a wall. That's how I did it. And my breasts were like towers. I'm grown now. Then I was in his eyes as one who finds peace. I acted like a wall. I went through it all. I'm now grown. It is the time, and now my lover finds me as what? One who has peace, or one who brings out peace. Now it's free and clear. Those prohibitions are gone. Plus all the stuff that I would have gotten into beforehand is not a factor because I didn't get into it because I was a wall. Secret to success. It's right there. She continues kind of a few closing verses here, talking about Solomon and his vineyard. Verse 13, he who dwells in the gardens with companions, listening to your voice, let me hear it. Everybody say, hooray! This is the closing of the play. Everything is great. Verse 14, and she turns to him, and in one last verse of the book, she says, make haste, my beloved, be like the gazelle or young stag on the mountain of spices. And I can only picture this in my verse, or this verse in my mind. As they turn together, they turn their backs to the camera or the play, and they kind of ride off into the sunset. Come on, my lover, be like the stag and the gazelle that you are. Let's ride off into the mountains and have some more fun, right? And that's the end of the book. And that completes it all except for one thing. What? One more slide you have to put up there. All right? And they lived happily ever after. Now again, real world check. Is it ever truly a happily ever after and all the problems are solved forever? Well, real life doesn't work quite that way, quite so smoothly. I know if you're a Disney aficionado, that's a shock to you because they always ride off into the sunset and say happily ever after. But this is the goal, and this is what it can be. And will beloved and lover go through more problems in their relationship at some point? Yeah, I'm sure they will. Will they have to fix them again? Yup. Will they come back together again like they did this time? I hope so. And I hope this one trial that we read about is extended to all the other trials in their relationship. But this is the goal. This is what it looks like. This, if you could pick God's mind and say, God, what is marriage supposed to look like? This is what it's supposed to look like right here. Not until it's time, but when it is time, go for it. Have fun. And so if you're not having fun, maybe you should be. Maybe you should be. And that's the book of Song of Solomon. Wasn't that a good time? All right, let's pray and we'll dismiss. Dear God, we thank you again for this book. What a wonderful book. I'm glad you didn't leave this out because relationship and sexuality and attraction and passion and all these things are so big a part of our lives. How much fun would our lives be without that? It would not be nearly as fun. And so I thank you for this book that's all about that, that's dedicated to that, to remind us that it is a good thing, that you designed it, that you approve of it, that you tell us how to accomplish it, and at the same time you give us warnings on how not to mess it up for ourselves. I pray that we'd understand this and apply it to our own selves. I'm sure there's a zillion different scenarios and situations, even right here in this room, let alone online for anybody watching it. Any problems or difficulties, we acknowledge those come along too, because being together, putting two sinful people together is not easy, and it doesn't always turn out smoothly and prettily like the couple in the book. But that's our goal. That's what we want. Help us to come to you as a means of solving our problems, and I pray that everybody's relationship would turn out like this one, as best as it possibly can. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.